Welcome to another exciting episode of my channel. This is Dr. Miller here. Hello out in YouTube land. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, check out my other videos on a bunch of topics. And as always, like this video, but again, you can watch it first, just to be sure. So, what is this video? I don't want to make a real long video because I tend to wander in the weeds about things. This isn't even a rant. It's just more of a consideration. For those of you that have struggled with weight loss for long periods of time, weight maintenance, you know, as a diet coach, you know, I've worked with individuals, hundreds of individuals, almost 1,000 now, and just with diet coaching. And, you know, I've seen lots of different reasons why people struggle, okay? One of the reasons I wanted to throw out there, though, that maybe is a factor is food enjoyment, the taste of food. This is going to sound really weird, but it's something maybe to consider. So let's put it in an example of kind of the modern Western fast food, okay? What is the selling point of fast food? Usually it's the volume, right? It's fat and carbs, cheap carbs mixed together, maybe some cheap protein with high fat mixed together, okay? And, you know, in the psychological world when it comes to, or sports psychology, when it comes to, you know, this idea of better versus best, right? Or good versus great, right? Maybe you've heard these arguments. I made a video on one of them, actually. You know, you can do something really good, but you're missing out on great. And great could be just that, great. You know, it's so much better than good. You know, elite athletes I've seen over the years working with elite athletes get this concept more than others. I didn't get this concept and I certainly wasn't an elite athlete. But I see this more. There's something more. Like they're always looking for, is there something more? I feel good, but there's got to be a great. And maybe I'm not there yet. I think the same thing applies here. I really do see the same thing. And it may not be a big deal for some, but I think for the majority of people, because the idea of diet is so woven together with other things. The speed of which we live our lives. How the household now is arranged in the United States than it was 70 years ago. Or even not in the United States, but maybe even different, any parts of the Western world. It's changed. The family has changed. The food then is going to change. The pace of life is going to change. Inflation changes things. Two-income households that are, you know, that have to happen now. The inability to have a one-income household. I mean, these are all things that changes the dynamic when it comes to food. It's not just macros. One of these factors that plays into all these, so what I'm saying is it's not a factor by itself, but it is part of this picture is the taste of food. How satisfying is food? You know, I've been noticing this more of late is, you know, the taste of a strawberry, right? The strawberry can have a nice taste to it, and then you have a really good strawberry that's, you know, in this idea of organic, right? Is organic healthier? I don't know. I don't think we have any research to really say for sure, because that's hard, because you're talking about a long-term study. Like the studies on like flossing say that it's not very effective, but it's because you have to do it over a long period of time in order to see the benefit, right? So, but let's say, you know, a strawberry tastes a certain way when it's organic, and it tastes a certain way when it's not. Okay, let's just use this as an example. The organic strawberry, I mean, you tend to enjoy that a little bit more, even if you're, man, you know, when you have a really good strawberry, you get a good batch or something. Wow, it really tastes really good, right? I mean, you sit and enjoy it, and you don't just scarf it down, right? Now, in this example, the tendency is to eat slower and enjoy the meal. Like I'm not wealthy enough to do a lot of fine dining. Some of you are. I think that's fantastic. But the times that I've had a meal, right? You get the meal and it comes out, and you're so used to these heaping portions of food that you get this, you're like, this isn't much food. We're going to have to stop somewhere on the way home, right? But you eat it, but the food is so good that you slow down and you enjoy it. You might enjoy the company a little bit more. You might share about your delight in the food, right? And some of these meals have multiple courses, but each course isn't that large. They're just small courses. You're just changing the palate. Okay. Now, obviously fine dining is not going to be something we can do all the time. In fact, I'd probably do it maybe twice a year, to be honest with you. I wish I could do it more. I think fine dining is just that, just fine. But what about the day-to-day though? Well, ingredients matter. Well, this would be my challenge to these of you listening out there. If you're a meal prepper, okay, use better ingredients and see if you have more satiety, more satisfaction with your meals. If you eat slower and you enjoy the meal, then more than likely hunger is going to be less. And even if you do carry hunger into the next meal, that meal will satisfy you, so you don't feel like you need to eat fast and furious and eat high-fat foods that are going to, you know, and simple carbohydrates that go through you so fast that your body doesn't have the chance to register that you've consumed something. if you drink a soda, it goes through so quickly. You might feel a little bloated from the liquid, but you're going to be hungry again fairly quickly. There's nothing that stayed in your stomach, right? Gastric emptying is what we call it, right? It's you're looking for things that move through your gut slowly. And so we can, again, take a generic thing like, okay, fruit's going to be better for that, and vegetables will be better for that, and proteins will be better. Agreed on all fronts. It's a scale, right? You went from your diets, you went from your soda with just a bunch of sugar, and now you're eating solid food that has fiber and maybe protein or both, and now it's slowed down in your gut, but maybe it wasn't that satisfying. So when you're done eating it, it's like, well, that was fine, but it wasn't that exciting. Okay. And you find yourself craving good flavor. And so where do you think the good flavor is? Well, it's all the foods that I used to consume that I like, the foods that are high in fat and high in carbohydrates. What if you just had better ingredients, right, and enjoyed the food for your meal, right? You feel more satisfied. Man, that was really good. The way that chicken was seasoned was amazing. It really was right? And so if this is one piece, it's not going to fix everything, because that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. But when it comes to diet, talking about behavior, many behaviors have multiple inputs. Okay, but this is one that I see is overlooked. So even if you're doing a meal prep and you're like, I'm going to eat white rice, and that's okay to eat white rice, by the way, just eat protein with it. You eat your white rice, your chicken, and some sort of vegetable, and you mix them together. Fine. Look for flavoring. Look for something that, wow, this is really good. And that didn't work. Okay, try something else, right? And it's not just soy sauce, right? Look for some good blackening. Look for some good spicy seasoning, if you like that. I mean, there's all kinds of options out there to experiment with. You can make some sauces. Yes, they can have more calories in them, but if you put a little bit of that sauce on one of these type of meals, and it enhances the flavor of the meal, and it satisfies when you eat it, you're less likely to binge later, looking for that, the simple flavors like chocolate or something else like that. You can have desserts. Just make them so, in terms of their flavor, not necessarily rich, but just have so much flavor associated with them that, you eat half of that thing, you're like, man, I'm right. Now, some of you might think you're full of crap, dude. Like, I just want to eat a lot of food. Well, maybe, but give it a try. Like, make one meal of the day, one where you prepare or you purchase or whatever, that is higher quality. And, unfortunately, and with inflation the way it is, especially now, it might cost more money. But look at it this way. If you invest in a meal that costs more up front for like a dinner or something, you're not going to maybe have 2 dinners then, right? So you spend a little bit of money on this food, it's satisfied, right? You're less likely to snack because you're like, man, I got this really good dinner coming up. I don't want to snack because I want to go into this thing with a little hunger. I want to enjoy this. When our family call it wasting our hunger. I don't want to waste my hunger, right? When you have a bad meal, it's like, I wasted my hunger on that one, right? And so, again, this is not this is not going to fix everything, but it's just a consideration I don't see talked about often. I'm reading a book called Food for Thought by Francis Fukushan, and talks about the Sabbath and the enjoyment of a special meal, and French cooking, and and I've read some of these other cooking books, and you see the same thing, how important flavor is. And I know for me, it took me a while to be like, whatever. You get so dulled as a modern, right? You're like, just about food. I mean, think about it. We're eating space food at this point for a lot of times. We eat food in packets. Like I remember as a kid, like, wow, look at that space food. And the guy, squeeze a packet in his mouth. And my kids still eat that, and I do too at times, but that shouldn't be the crux of our diet. It just shows you how modernity has tried to make us so efficient that we've just lost the enjoyment of things. And in so doing, by losing the enjoyment and by increasing the pace of our lives and the fatigue and all the things associated with it, now we're unhealthy, right? To slow down, have a enjoyable meal with other people perhaps, and really sit and enjoy it, and you find you'll eat less. And I didn't believe that either until I tried it, and it's true. And I'm a big dude, and I've had some meals that I would look at and be like, I don't think that's going to satisfy, but walked away feeling really full after for a long period of time. Like I didn't want to snack at night because that dessert was so good, and it wasn't a big dessert; it was a small, right? So anyway, as much as I know you could say, well, it's too expensive, and agreed. I have children, and it can be very expensive. It doesn't have to be all the meals, right? But maybe you change just one meal every 3 days. That it's going to be a little bit more in terms of more flavorful. You're going to spend time preparing it, or you're going to purchase better ingredients, right? And see the difference. And it really, I won't make a guarantee, but pretty close. That at least for that meal and the time after, you'll feel a lot more satisfied. Okay, I'm talking in circles at this point. Hope you enjoy this video. I'll put some more videos about training plans and reps and sets and rep schemes and all that good stuff. Make sure you check out my book that I just finished called The Motionless Modern. Some of the stuff I just talked about is incorporated. You can find it on Amazon, a link below. See you in the next video.